Hi, I'm Bill Parsons from 9 Life Solutions. I'm here today with Melissa Moody from Dayton RTA. She is the manager of training for Dayton RTA Transit System. And we're going to talk today a little bit about roadworthy communication. So Melissa, tell me, what is your perspective on the roadworthy communications program? How have you seen it has it been effective for your operators?
I think it absolutely has been effective. One of the things that I've noticed is as we put the operators through the training, a lot of them will come up afterwards and say, you know, I really wish we had had this 10, 15, 20 years ago.
That's impactful.
Which is huge. But then on the other side of it is I get calls from our director of operations, and she called one day and she said, Melissa, has this particular operator been through training yet? And I said, yeah, she has. Why? And the response is, well, whatever went on in that training worked because we've not had a complaint on this particular operator in several months.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And it's, we tied it directly back to the point at which this person went through the training.
Fantastic. That's good. That's
and
a great story.
Yeah, it was very encouraging. I get a lot of operators that come up to me as I'm walking through the lounge sometimes. Melissa, that training last week was so good. It needs to be longer though. We need more time. We need a second class of this because
Right.
it's so good.
Sure.
We need more information.
Sure. Now, from a personal perspective, I mean, how I know you've applied the techniques before in the lobby here or on the bus or whatever. So, can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, there was a time right after we started rolling out this training across the agency. I happened to be walking through our lounge, and we had a very upset customer in the lobby, and the person she was here to see was not in, and so,
right, which made her more irate, probably. Sure.
Yeah, she wasn't real happy about that.
Right.
So I said, well, how can I help you? And I used a lot of the soften techniques.
Okay.
Smile, open, posture,
Forward lean, yeah.
forward lean, all of that. Used all those as I was talking to her and listening to what she was saying. And I asked the receptionist for some paper so I could take some notes on what she was saying.
Right, which is one of the tools we talk about, sure.
And I stood there with this lady for about 10 minutes. And she just wanted to vent.
Sure, and a lot of times people just want to tell us what their issue is.
And she vented and she got it all, kind of out of her system. And I said, okay, well, here's, the person you need to talk to is not here today, but here's what I'm going to do. Again, not letting responsibility leave the room, which is the first thing you tell us in class.
Right, it's the very first thing that we say.
And I just said, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the name of the person I'm going to give this to. I will walk it up to his office myself when he gets back in the morning.
Right.
And we will get back with you.
Fantastic, yeah.
And she looked at me and she said, thank you. And she walked out the door.
A transformed person.
She was thrilled. She
Yeah.
was thrilled that somebody took the time to actually listen to what she was saying.
And that's one of the keys we talk about too,
Yeah.
just listening, because most of the time they may not be able to impact right then, but at least they know we care.
Right.
And we're going to try to do
Right.
something for them.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to share about the program?
The other thing I think that sticks with me a lot, and I hear myself repeating this a lot to the operators when they come to me and they're complaining about something that has happened on their bus, is one of the things you say very early on in the training is it's not what you say, it's
Right.
what they hear.
Right.
And I find myself reminding our operators of that. I go home, I remind my husband and
Right,
my
right,
kids,
right.
and I find myself, I use that all
the time. Yeah, me too. In my life,
when
I
I'm working
definitely
with,
do.
when I'm working with my kids, when I'm working on projects at my church, whatever's going on, that's always in the back of my mind. Is it's not what I'm saying, it's
Right,
what
it's
they're hearing.
So I've got to code my message for the receiver.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And doing that, it's real interesting the change that I'm seeing in how my
The
kids are
responses you
relating.
get back.
Yeah, how they relate back to me, because
Right.
then everything gets a whole lot easier.
Right. When you know this is what they need to hear from me.
Right.
So I'm going to give them what they
Right.
need to hear from me. So, I mean, to sum everything up overall, it's been a positive experience for you
It has
here at RTA?
absolutely been a really, really wonderful experience. I'm trying to figure out a way to bottle this up
Right.
and keep recycling it every
Sure.
so often, because I think it's a message that we need to keep reinforcing with our operators so that it just becomes a part of their daily lives.
Right. It's not something. It's not a one-time training. It becomes kind of a
Right.
permanent part of how they do business every day.
It's a permanent habit in how they do
Sure.
their jobs.
Hi, I'm Bill Parsons. We're back with Melissa Moody again. There's a couple other questions I'd like to ask you really quickly. Number one is the length of training that we do with Dayton RTA is 4 hours. The training typically is 3 to 4 hours, depending on the organization we're with. What kind of stuff do you hear as far as the training time? Because sometimes we hear people grumble about, oh my gosh, it's 4 hours long, and they think it's just going to be drudgery. And then, so what are you hearing? I mean, when they're coming in or coming out of the training?
It's really funny because the training that we do, the training that we do with you is 4 hours.
Right.
We actually have the operators for a full day.
Right.
And one of the things that I hear at the end of every single day is, We need more, Bill. We need more of that topic. We need at least another 2 or 3 hours with him, and then you can squeeze that other stuff in at the end.
Okay, that's
But give us more of that, because
Okay.
that's going to really help us when we're out there on the street.
Okay, so they
working
actually
with-
see it as very practical skills that they can
see it,
apply.
absolutely.
Well, that's
They
excellent.
absolutely. There was one lady in the class very early on when we started this rollout. One of the first things she says is, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea
Right.
how important communication was."
Right.
She goes, "I kind of, she basically paraphrased it, and basically the gist of it was, I really thought my job was to get behind the wheel of the bus and get
just
people
move
where they
people.
and move people."
Right.
But now I'm realizing that a lot of the problems that I encountered on my bus were in part caused by the way I was handling the situation.
Right, right.
Now that I get this,
Everything's a lot smoother.
everything gets a lot easier.
Sure.
Right.
Now, overall, I mean, because you've been in a lot of different industries and you've been in the transit industry for a while now, would this be training that you would recommend for any other transit, whether it's another city or?
Absolutely. This is training that I think every transit agency would benefit from.
Okay.
You see a lot of things in the news, and it's always the bad stuff.
Right, of course.
It's
the news
always
media likes their-
the bus driver that's, physically throwing somebody off the bus,
Sure.
that's hitting a customer, that's, all of the bad things. But this training, I think if it were available and rolled out to every transit agency in the country, you would never see those stories again. You would see the stories like the gentleman in Denmark, the bus driver
Right,
in
and
Denmark.
that video,
whose
absolutely.
whose customers remembered his birthday.
Right, in a
surprised
very phenomenal way.
Oh, yeah. And, that's what I think people want to be able to see. People want to be able to see the good things that transit does.
Right.
And instead of hearing all the bad and the negative about our transit operators, it's much better to show them.
Interestingly enough, on the Roadworthy website, we are actually going to have a spot where we highlight transit employees doing phenomenal things,
Oh,
like
awesome.
I think it was the driver up in upstate New York who talked the young woman off of the ledge.
Mm-hmm.
As he pulls up on the bus, he's got a bus load of school kids, and he stops the bus, gets off, and negotiates her off of she's going to jump off of a bridge, and he talks her down and then sits down next to her until he can get law enforcement there, and he gives her the help. So so I think there are a lot of positive stories out there
Yeah.
that in most industries get overshadowed by just the
Yeah.
one or two negative things that happen.
Yeah, we've
every
had
single time.
so many of them here.
Right.
We had
Great
one,
stories.
We had one just back the beginning of the year, I think. One of our operators in our paratransit service actually saved one of our customers' lives.
Wow. Well, see,
He
that's-
noticed
yeah.
that she wasn't looking quite right when he dropped her off. He said, "Do you feel okay?" And she's like, "I'm a little tired." And he made an observation that her lips were discolored.
Okay.
And she went to the hospital, and turns out, had she laid down and gone to sleep like she had planned,
She would have probably
she
passed
would have
away.
passed away in the night.
Wow.
That operator literally saved her
See,
life.
those are great stories.
And
Absolutely.
it's those things that people don't hear about. We hear about it within the agency.
And that's going that extra step, actually caring about the customer,
Yeah.
not just moving her from point A to point B,
Right.
but actually caring about the people you serve every
building
single
that
day.
bond. And it's one of
Right.
the things you talk about in the training.
Oh,
is building
absolutely.
that relationship with your customers.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as that greeting each day. Hey, how's it going?
Right.
How was the game last night? Simple
Right.
things like that.
And every one of these drivers, almost everyone I've ever talked to said, it is possible to greet every passenger as they come on, even if it's even if it's a short greeting, but at least it's an acknowledgement of, hey, you're here and I acknowledge you, and
Right.
I'm really, we're happy you're riding the system. Thank
Right.
you, kind of a thing.